what if the absolute hardest part of building a multi-million-dollar food delivery empire had like absolutely nothing to do with writing code? I mean, what if the code itself, the software, the algorithms, the whole digital infrastructure was actually the cheapest, easiest part of the entire equation?
Yeah, it completely flips that traditional Silicon Valley narrative right on its head, doesn't it? Because, we've been conditioned to think about tech startups as these massive, chaotic construction sites. You think you need a deep foundation, millions in venture capital, and like a small army of engineers writing custom software for 2 years before you even open your digital front door. But, well, that reality is rapidly disappearing.
Right, which brings us to why we're here. Welcome to today's deep dive. Our mission today is to explore this totally invisible, highly lucrative world of clone apps. And specifically, we're looking at how everyday entrepreneurs are using what's known in the industry as an iFood clone to entirely bypass traditional software development. They're using it to just instantly launch the complex multi-sided delivery marketplaces.
Exactly. We're moving from a mindset of building the technology from scratch to simply deploying it. It's a really remarkable look under the hood of a completely commoditized digital business model.
Yeah, and whether you are an aspiring entrepreneur or maybe a local restaurant owner looking to expand, or even if you're just, insanely curious about how fully formed tech startups seem to just launch overnight these days, this deep dive is going to reveal the hidden mechanics running the apps right there on your phone.
Definitely. But I think to really understand why an entrepreneur would even want to clone an app in the first place, we have to look at the original blueprint, right? We need to dissect the massive scale of the subject that's actually being copied.
For sure, because you don't clone something unless it's just totally dominating a market.
Mm-hmm.
So let's look at the original, which is iFood.
Yeah.
For anyone outside of its main territory, this is the Brazilian giant you might not know, but you absolutely should.
It is a dominant, just massive logistical force. So iFood is the leading delivery app in Brazil. It's owned by a mobile commerce company called Movil, and it's backed by these huge heavyweights, like Naspers and the venture firm Just Eat Takeaway.
Oh, wow. So serious money behind it.
Serious money. But the scale of their daily operation is what's truly staggering here. They operate in over 1,000 cities across Brazil, and they manage a network of over 300,000 restaurants.
Wait, 300,000 active restaurants. I mean, that level of logistical synchronization is hard to even wrap your head around.
Yeah, it's huge. And they aren't even stopping at hot meals. They are integrating 30,000 supermarkets onto the platform right now. So iFood delivers groceries, veterinary medicine, pet food, daily essentials. It's basically becoming this hyper-localized fulfillment network. But the most crucial element to their dominance is actually their strategic integration. iFood has a deeply embedded partnership with Uber down in Brazil.
Okay, let's unpack this, because this isn't just an app anymore, right? It's a digital mall. Uber users can literally order iFood directly from within the Uber app, and iFood users can book an Uber ride without ever closing the iFood interface.
Right, they never have to leave the ecosystem.
Exactly. Uber is essentially the taxi stand sitting right outside of the iFood food court. They are just seamlessly sharing foot traffic. But, this brings up a huge operational question. I mean, if the original company is this massive, this well-funded, and they're sharing user bases with a global giant like Uber, how can a local startup possibly compete? Because you just can't out-engineer that level of integration.
What's fascinating here is that the sheer scale of that monopoly is exactly why the clone market was born in the first place. I mean, a local bakery or a regional chain of coffee shops, they cannot spend $10 million to build an integrated super app to defend their territory.
Right. They don't have the runway for that.
Exactly. But they don't have to. Instead, they buy a clone script to replicate the exact proven mechanics of that massive platform, and they shrink it down for their specific local market.
So this realization that small players actually need enterprise-level technology just to survive, that brings us to what this clone actually is in practice. Because the market timing for this kind of technology is just super critical right now.
Yeah, it is. So a clone app is a ready-made white label script. It is fully written, totally debugged software that allows a business to launch a comprehensive delivery platform in like a matter of weeks or sometimes even days.
Wait, really? Just a few days?
Yeah, literally 5 days in some cases. You are basically buying the operational skeleton of a tech giant. It's a drag-and-drop platform, so it requires zero advanced development expertise to get off the ground. It's built for, bakery shops, restaurant chains, food trucks, cafes, bars.
We're talking about going to market with a minimum viable product in as little as 5 days. 5 days to launch a localized competitor to Uber Eats or DoorDash. And the urgency for local businesses to do this is pretty intense. I mean, looking at the broader industry data, online food ordering has surged 300% since 2014.
Oh yeah, the trajectory is wild.
It really is. And by 2027, over 217 million people are projected to use food delivery apps regularly. Plus, consumer habits have just totally hardened. Studies, like one from Appetize, show that 77% of customers still demand contactless app-based payments post-pandemic.
The baseline expectation of the modern consumer has permanently shifted. Convenience is literally the product now. So if a local business isn't meeting the customer on their smartphone with a totally frictionless experience, they are functionally invisible to a massive demographic.
So buying a clone app is basically like buying a fully furnished prefab house instead of pouring a foundation, hiring an architect, and drawing up blueprints for a custom build. You just unlock the front door and start living in it.
That's a perfect analogy, yeah.
But I do have to push back on this idea of a 5-day launch a little bit. Is it really a drag-and-drop path to riches? Like, if I launch a food truck tomorrow and buy this clone, I can't just drag and drop a loyal customer base into my database, right?
Oh, no, not at all. And that is actually the most dangerous trap in the whole commoditized software space. The technology is ready-made, yes, but the business itself is not.
Right. You still have to run the business.
Exactly. The real work completely shifts away from coding and debugging, and it moves entirely into local networking, sales, and ground-level operations.
Because the software doesn't physically cook the burgers or knock on the customer's door.
Precisely. You still have to hit the pavement. You have to convince local restaurant owners to partner with you instead of the big tech giants. You have to negotiate competitive commission rates, prove you can bring them real visibility, and recruit reliable drivers.
So the tech just gets you to the starting line.
Right. The clone technology just ensures that once you make that local sale, your operational friction is zero. It allows a local entrepreneur to launch in a specific neighborhood, or maybe a smaller suburban town, where the giant super apps simply haven't built out a dedicated presence yet. You make fewer mistakes right out of the gate.
It basically gives you the hammer of a tech giant, but you still have to swing it yourself. So if the technology is absorbing all that operational friction, let's actually look under the hood at the mechanics. Because it's not just a single app that someone downloads from the App Store, is it? It is this synchronized 4-part ecosystem.
Yeah, a marketplace like this is a complex, multi-sided equation. The CloneScript provides 4 distinct interfaces that absolutely must communicate with zero latency.
Okay, let's trace a real-world scenario to see how these interact. Imagine someone sitting on their couch at, like, 10 p.m., craving local pizza. They pull out their phone and open the first interface, the customer app. Now, we know it features push notifications, real-time tracking, order history, but the real magic here is the payment integration, right?
The API integrations are definitely where the clone proves its worth. In a custom build, negotiating and coding APIs with credit card companies and banks takes months of compliance testing.
It's a nightmare for developers.
It's a total nightmare. But the clone comes preloaded with multiple payment gateways. It seamlessly accepts e-wallets, Apple Pay, net banking, standard credit cards, and even cash on delivery. If that customer on the couch faces even 10 seconds of payment friction, they abandon the cart. The clone prevents that bounce rate.
Okay, so the payment clears frictionlessly. Instantly, that triggers the second interface, the restaurant app. So the tablet sitting in a loud, chaotic pizza kitchen suddenly lights up.
Right, and this is the command center for the business owner. It allows them to accept or reject orders, add unlimited categorized dishes to their menu, and alert the kitchen staff to fire the oven.
And it tracks the drivers too, right?
Yes, crucially, it tracks the delivery riders via GPS in real time. So the kitchen knows exactly when to box the pizza so it doesn't sit under a heat lamp getting soggy for 20 minutes.
Which perfectly triggers the third piece of the puzzle, the rider app. Because the system needs to connect the hot pizza to the hungry customer.
Exactly. The rider app operates on proximity algorithms. It pings the closest available driver, lets them accept or decline the gig, and lets them track their payment and tip history. But a really critical mechanical feature here is the integrated real-time chat function.
Oh, to solve the last mile friction. Like when a customer's address is apartment 4B, but the actual entrance is somehow hidden in a dark alley behind a dry cleaner.
Exactly that. Without an in-app chat, the driver is calling the customer from a personal number, the customer doesn't recognize it and ignores the call, the food gets cold, and the platform has to issue a refund.
Wow. Yeah, that happens to me all the time, actually.
Right. But by keeping the communication inside the app ecosystem, you completely eliminate that specific logistical failure.
And overseeing this entire late-night pizza journey is the fourth interface, the admin panel. Now, this isn't an app, right? It's the master dashboard for the platform owner. It's basically a digital air traffic control tower. They're monitoring the restaurants, tracking the riders, processing the earnings, ad revenue, all of it from a single screen.
It is a totally comprehensive suite of management tools. You can even segment access, like creating sub-admins with limited access to handle specific neighborhoods or just customer support tickets.
But wait, let's look at the friction there for a second. A local entrepreneur who maybe just wants to aggregate a few local bakeries is suddenly managing a four-headed hydra of software regulating customers, kitchens, and drivers simultaneously. Doesn't deploying this level of enterprise technology actually increase the probability of catastrophic mistakes for a small business that isn't used to running a tech platform?
It's a highly logical concern, for sure, but the source material explicitly states the opposite. The mechanics of the software are specifically designed to reduce mistakes by automating the workflow.
How so? Like, what does it replace?
Well, think about the traditional local delivery model. A customer calls on a static-filled phone line. A teenager at the register scribbles the address on a physical notepad, shouts the order over a loud kitchen exhaust fan, and then hands a paper receipt to a driver who has to manually punch the address into Google Maps.
The margin for human error in every single one of those handoffs is just massive. I mean, one misheard number and the pizza goes to the wrong machine.
Huge margin of error. But with the four-part app ecosystem, the entire loop is locked in and tracked digitally. The GPS address is pinpointed by the customer. The payment is locked in escrow before a single pepperoni is even sliced. The driver is routed automatically. It completely removes the chaos of human communication from the logistics chain.
So the technology isn't just facilitating the order, it's practically babysitting the human error. Okay, so once you have this four-part machine running flawlessly, we have to look at the engine keeping the lights on. How does this clone actually extract money from that pizza order?
The monetization engine is really where the true value of a white label script becomes obvious, because these complex revenue models are just hard-coded into the system from day one. There are actually 7 embedded revenue engines you can activate.
7. Okay, let's walk through how they dynamically interact. The baseline engine is obvious, right? Commission on orders. The platform takes a percentage, usually between 10 and 30%, on every completed transaction.
Right, that's your primary volume driver. But intertwined with that are delivery fees and surge pricing. This is where behavioral economics comes into play. You charge the customer a delivery fee based on geographic distance, but you activate surge fees or convenience fees during peak hours, holidays, or bad weather.
So if it's pouring rain, the customer pays an extra $3. But that's not just price gouging, is it? It's a mechanical lever to regulate the marketplace.
Precisely. You need a financial lever to convince independent gig drivers who might be sitting perfectly dry on their couches to get into their cars and drive in the rain. The surge fee dynamically balances the spike in customer demand with the required spike in driver supply.
That's brilliant. Then you have the digital real estate engines, ad revenue, and featured listings. Just like an end cap display at a physical grocery store, a local taco shop can pay the platform owner a premium to have their banner displayed at the very top of the customer app when someone searches for dinner.
Exactly. It monetizes visibility within the walled garden of your local app.
And finally, the platform locks in loyalty through customer memberships and subscription plans. A customer pays a recurring fee for free delivery, cashback, priority support, essentially mimicking the Amazon Prime playbook. Meanwhile, restaurants can pay a monthly or annual subscription for access to deep data analytics or lowered commission rates.
Right, those are your recurring revenue streams.
So what does this all mean? Because if I zero in on those restaurant subscription plans for a second, if I'm opening a local cafe, I am absolutely not paying an unproven local app a monthly subscription fee on day one when nobody in my zip code even has the app downloaded yet. The friction to adopt that is just way too high.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, your instinct highlights exactly how these platforms are meant to be scaled. Our source explicitly warns against launching subscriptions on day one. You cannot demand a recurring commitment without demonstrating undeniable value first.
Okay, so how do you get them on board then?
You utilize a psychological monetization ladder. You start exclusively with the commission model. The pitch to the local restaurant is entirely risk-free. You say, you only pay us a percentage if we actually bring you a paying customer. The restaurant has zero upfront cost to join your platform.
Right, it's a no-brainer for them at that point.
Exactly. But once you successfully drive a massive volume of orders to their kitchen, once your software becomes an indispensable part of their daily revenue, then you introduce the next rung of the ladder.
You upsell them from a position of leverage.
You sit down with the owner and say, look, we brought you 500 orders last month. If you switch to a flat $200 monthly subscription, we will drop your per-order commission from 20% down to 10%. The math suddenly works heavily in their favor. You build trust through performance, you make your software a habit for their business, and then you monetize that reliance with subscriptions and featured listings.
You effectively operate as a loss leader to build the habit. That makes total sense. Okay, so if this clone script is this robust, it flawlessly syncs 4 user interfaces, manages complex behavioral economic pricing, and prints money in 7 different ways, why would any entrepreneur ever build a custom app from scratch? Which leads us to the final technical breakdown. The stark financial reality of buying a prefab clone versus building custom software.
It entirely comes down to eliminating upfront risk. The financial contrast between the two is just staggering. To purchase a simple, sophisticated iFood clone, customize the branding for your city, and launch your minimum viable product, you are looking at an investment between $5,000 and $20,000. And your timeline to launch is just a few weeks.
Okay, contrast that mechanism with a custom build. The financial requirement jumps from $20,000 to well over $150,000, sometimes more. And instead of launching next week, you are looking at several months of runway.
Because building from scratch is a relentless gauntlet of technical hurdles. You have to define all the requirements, design every single UI and UX wireframe. But the real nightmare is the back-end architecture. You have to hire engineers to build the invisible plumbing using frameworks like Node.js, Ruby on Rails, Django, or Laravel.
Just to ensure that when a customer hits pay, the restaurant's tablet actually rings without a 30-second lag.
Right. You are paying premium hourly rates for developers to literally reinvent the wheel. Then you have the operating system multipliers. If you want your custom app to render natively on both Apple's iOS and Google's Android platforms, you effectively double your development costs right out of the gate because they require entirely different coding languages.
Plus the geographic location of your developers, the team expertise, ongoing server maintenance.
Exactly. Add in the cost of hunting down bugs, testing across devices, and navigating the highly restrictive approval processes of the app stores, and the capital required to simply reach the starting line is just immense.
Here's where it gets really interesting. A $5,000 entry fee for a fully functioning platform completely democratizes the tech industry. It takes what used to be an insurmountable barrier to entry, that million-dollar skyscraper construction site we talked about, and it reduces it to a basic operational expense. $5,000 is less capital than a neighborhood cafe spends on a commercial espresso machine.
That is the perfect context for this. The core value proposition of a clone app isn't just the speed to market. It is the total elimination of initial technical risk. You don't spend $150,000 just hoping the local market likes your specific app interface.
You spend $5,000 on a proven interface, test your local market, and, only hire traditional hardcore developers later if you actually hit scale and need specific complex customizations.
Exactly. You buy the generic engine, but you win the race by being a better driver.
So to summarize this incredible journey we've been on today, we started with this Brazilian giant, iFood, handling millions of users, and we unpacked how modern clone scripts shrink that intimidating enterprise-level technology into a highly accessible $5,000 box. We traced the digital mechanics of a single order through a 4-part ecosystem, explored the 7 revenue models, and we confronted the stark financial difference between buying and building.
It highlights a completely new era of digital entrepreneurship. The tools themselves are no longer the obstacle. They are just commodities waiting to be deployed.
Which brings us back to our opening thought. We used to view tech startups as these massive engineering feats, where the code was the entire competitive value of the company. Today, the code is just a prefab house you order online and set up over the weekend.
And that leaves us with a highly provocative thought to consider. If complex marketplace software is entirely commoditized, where literally anyone can buy a perfect, frictionless clone of a billion-dollar app for the price of a used car, then the code itself is no longer the competitive advantage. It begs the question, in the future of the tech industry, will the most successful startups be the ones with the best software engineers, or simply the ones who are best at shaking hands and building genuine trust with the local community?
The power shifting from the coders in the basement back to the operators on the street. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep exploring, keep questioning the mechanics of the digital world around you, and we will catch you next time.